just coming off of a cold, so sorry about my voice. I know it's not up to par. I just really want to get this video project done this month. I feel like the scene with Herbert the pig exists for Flutie to be lovable and to really sell his character to the audience. Flutie is based off of Gary Murray, the principal from Henry High in the film.
No, don't let her in, they'll kill us, please keep her out now!
Joss originally wanted that character to have a greater impact as this cute, lovable male authority figure who isn't quite in sync with everything that's going on. When vampires attack the gym, he would threaten them with detention slips, thinking that they're just students. During the attack, he would wise up to the situation and fight vampires along with Pike, though not nearly as effectively. After Buffy kills Lothos, the minions would run, and he'd chase after them. Through director discretion and pompous actor bullying, the Gary Murray we got was far less memorable. Flutie is the chance to redo the Gary Murray character. He's a little different, but not a lot. The whole thing about him struggling as an authority figure in a world that respects both strict and loving authority figures is something I only really see in the unaired pilot. Flutie in the show is a big, lovable kid, somehow made principal. He represents the inanity of authority figures, where the teens are forced to follow a guy who's clearly out of his element. But he's also the heart and soul of Sunnydale High. He represents the loving, kind, innocent people who Buffy has pledged to protect. As unusual as it is for Buffy to be a strong hero defending the helpless, it's even stranger for male characters to display the kind of vulnerability and innocence generally only given to female characters for the men to want to protect. It's a subversive retelling of the classic hero story, the same level of Xander eventually being the heart of the Scooby Gang. Flutie is afraid to handle Herbert, so he depends on Buffy to help him put him back in his cage. It's an absurd joke because Herbert's just a little pig, but it also illustrates the way they relate in their subverted gender roles. Buffy is the strong one who muscles monsters, and Flutie is a weak person who depends on Buffy's strength. While working with Herbert, Flutie rambles about students not having school spirit like they did in the good old days. And then he stops and realizes that he's sounding just like the principal he had when he was a teenager, who he didn't respect then because the principal wouldn't respect Flutie's generation. They look at each other and there is a sense of respect, like they're finally seeing eye to eye. Just like Buffy and Dr. Gregory, uh-oh.
It's the ultimate jinx.
Meanwhile, Willow tries to tutor Xander on math. Xander doesn't get it, and he gets really angry about it.
Math class is tough.
He concludes that he'll just fail the class and be done about it. Willow is most valuable to Hyena Xander for her tutoring skills, so when he rejects a need for that, Willow stops being valuable to him. Xander walks by Buffy and Herbert, and the pig completely freaks out in Buffy's arms. There's then a dodgeball game held by an obligatory sadistic gym coach.
I'm the master of the gym. Move faster for the master, or your future will be grim.
Apparently a man because they couldn't find a woman with chest hair. Probably for the best. Xander and his pack are on one team with a normal kid, and they dominate the game until it comes down to them versus Buffy. They sense her Slayer's strength, and they don't want to pick a fight. So they ruthlessly attack their team member.
Because hyenas are very quick to prey on the weak.
This shows their increasing disrespect for the rules of society. Buffy saves him as a defender of the helpless and glares at Xander until he leaves with the pack. Willow confronts Xander about his behavior, and he bullies her emotionally, leading her on like he's fallen for her, before cruelly rejecting her. The bullies laugh like, well... Buffy tries to stand up for Willow, but they just laugh at her. It's worth noting the costuming uses the black hat approach, signaling their evil with their black dress, similar to the viruses of early Reboot. It likely stems from Western cultural racism holding blackness as evil. At lunch, the hyenas steal food from the other kids, until they decide they're not into it. They smell something better, Herbert the pig. I'm not sure if Herbert counts as a man in the refrigerator, being an unintelligent animal, but he serves the same narrative purpose. He's cute, lovable,
Crunchy.
and his death serves to make the hyenas look monstrous. At this point, it should be clear that they have no respect for society's rules.
I try to make a few of my own.
The hyenas swagger around, scaring people. Xander sees Buffy and Willow and knows what he wants. Willow is currently seeking comfort from Buffy. This scene treats the whole thing with the seriousness of a teen drama and is very respectful of teen relationship issues. There are two girls dealing with a male friend suddenly becoming hostile. Willow blames herself. Buffy tries to say it's not her, and Willow latches onto Buffy as someone to blame. Buffy won't let that happen and rationally suggests that Xander has been affected by supernatural forces. She goes to talk to Giles. Giles thinks that Xander's dramatic change in behavior is normal for a 16-year-old boy.
Testosterone is a great equalizer. It turns all men into morons. He will, however, get over it.
Feminists really don't like this line. It normalizes bad behavior. Joss might have wanted to use it for self-deprecating humor honoring women, but saying testosterone makes men bullies removes them of personal responsibility. Testosterone doesn't make men bullies. They have to make the conscious decision to bully, and they are morally culpable for it. It's also possible that Joss put that line in because he was a jerk in high school and wants to relieve himself of responsibility. In the commentary for Season 1, Episode 2, The Harvest, he says that a line Cordelia says to bully Willow comes from something he said in high school and now feels bad about, and he included it as a way of saying crap done in high school doesn't define you, which is shown with Cordelia's redemption over the seasons. And there is some speculation he sees Cordelia as his avatar more than Buffy, at least until Angel Season 4. The degree to which Joss resembles Cordelia is unclear, but maybe he was more like her than just that one line, and is trying to excuse his being a jerk on testosterone. I don't know, I'm just speculating. With Giles trying to scully her, Buffy figures things out on her own. This all started with the hyena pen, and the bullies are laughing like hyenas, so therefore he's probably possessed by a hyena. Giles condescends to her until Willow bursts in and reports that Herbert the pig was eaten alive. Giles is forced to admit that Buffy is smarter than him on that issue, and he goes to research the topic for her. And as for Flutie, poor Flutie, he learns that the bullies ate Herbert, so he confronts the main pack, Xander absent. He escorts them to the principal's office. In his office, they corner him and eat him. Flutie is brutally torn apart and devoured by 4 possessed students. Take a moment to fully appreciate the level of horror Buffy is willing to go to. They really wanted you to love this guy as a cute, bumbling authority figure right before brutally murdering him. He is also definitely a man in the refrigerator. Joss so far has killed off Jesse twice, Dr. Gregory, a cute pig, and now Flutie, as well as teasing us with Owen. He gets a lot of hate for killing off female characters all the time, but that's just because he writes more female characters than other people. He is not afraid at all to kill off men or pigs with male names. Like with Dr. Gregory, Flutie is killed just to add a little horror to Buffy's life. Like with Jesse, he will soon be forgotten. There's a mention of him in Season 1, Episode 9, The Puppet Show, when his replacement shows up, but all of what Flutie is as a character is settled in the pack, when this lovable man is brutally murdered for the sake of horror. Meanwhile, the Scoobies research hyenas. Do your homework, kids! Giles comes in with exposition about an African society called primals, who believed the human soul was a distortion of the sociopathic animal kingdom and desired to become more like animals. Villains who hate humanity for their empathy are fairly common on the show, with characters like the Judge from Season 2, Episode 14, Innocence, and the Scourge from Angel Season 1, Episode 9, Hero, as are humans who want to become monsters because of their perceived power, like Ford from Season 2, Episode 7, Lie to Me, and Richard Wilkins from Season 3. The fact that they made up some spooky African tribe for the pack, though, draws on British colonialist narratives about spooky, mysterious backward peoples of the African continent, and it has similar problematic racial themes as with treatment of the First Slayer and the Shadow Men.
You know, I really don't remember you being this racist.
Giles' mention of the human soul as the concept the primals wanted to do away with doesn't necessarily mean that Xander lost his soul, according to the larger Buffyverse mythological definition of the human soul, as they likely hadn't figured all that out yet in the 6th episode. It does make sense to me, though, that the writers wrote the hyena plot with similar themes to vampires, where they lose their souls and have a demon set up shop. Xander lost his essential humanity and became animalistic and predatory, and he is now basically the same kind of thing as Vampire Jesse. Giles' description of Vampire Jesse not being Jesse, but the thing that killed him, applies to Hyena Xander looking like Xander, but not being Xander. You're not looking at your friend. You're looking at the thing that possessed his body. Giles shows them a picture showing the carnage hyena people leave in their wake, and Buffy hurries to find Xander. She examines the pig cage and determines that the hyenas have super strength, also like vampires. Hyena Xander shows up and tries to rape her. Buffy handles him pretty well, alternating between violence and negotiation as suits the situation. We don't actually see her get out of it, but she shows up at the library with him unconscious and says that she hit him with a desk. To the episode's credit, the incident is explicitly named as sexual assault.
Felony sexual assault.
The assault as a narrative conflict is not remotely misogynistic, just a trial for our hero, on her way to vanquishing the hyena foes, as part of an overall feminist statement about female power. During the assault itself, Hyena Xander babbles and reveals some negative aspects of Xander's human psychology. He knows Willow's into him, but he refuses to acknowledge it because he's into Buffy, which is a character flaw of Xander in-universe that is addressed in Season 1, Episode 12, Prophecy Girl. He's jealous of Angel and considers him a bad boy, and he grouses that Buffy likes her men mean. He's essentially that jackass who whines about being put in the friend zone and sighs that nice guys finish last, as if women are obligated to become romantically involved with guys just for them displaying the barest human decency. I also think this is an in-universe character flaw, which he gets over through the course of the high school years, Seasons 1 through 3. By the time he comes back from his summer to find himself in Season 4, Xander is a good guy. Angel isn't really mean. I mean, he insulted Buffy a little in his first appearances, but Xander wasn't there, and that was early installment weirdness that got better by Teacher's Pet. I would say that Xander is just being jealous and stupid. I think we can say that much is honest to Xander the human, though it's unclear how dominant those aspects are without the hyena possession. Xander the hyena takes this farther and thinks that only mean guys can get with Buffy. He acts meanly then, trying to rape her. He mentions getting off on the smell of her fear, which is also something akin to vampires. The writers really just turned him into a vampire for a single episode. The fact that he's a hyena and not a vampire is really so that they can turn him back at the end. This is what makes feminists hate him, or hate him more, but to a significant degree it's not Xander. And then Buffy hits him with a desk. She drags him into the library and locks him in a cage. Yeah, they have a cage in the library. Giles is really harsh on those late fees.
Man, you really care about your work.
Giles brings word of what happened to Flutie. The three of them just absorb the horror of that. The Hellmouth isn't just about teens getting superpowers and getting empowered. They are dealing with actual serious danger, forcing them to play the part of heroes and fight evil because they're the only ones who can. Flutie is stuffed in the fridge to give Buffy, Willow, and Giles that moment of horror. They return to research.
The Malleus Maleficarum deals in the particulars of demonic possession.
Wait, what? Yeah, the Malleus Maleficarum. That would be the same witch hunter's handbook I discussed in my review of Witch. It's paranoid, misogynistic pornography, encouraging men to humiliate, torture, and kill women who seem too powerful. And it was actually used during European witch hunts by evil, misogynistic murderers. It's not the kind of thing to endorse by having Giles use it for research. It's like if Giles were to read Mein Kampf to learn how to kill a werewolf. It really implies that the witch hunts were moral because watchers were behind them and killing literal evil witches. That is just not the kind of thing you endorse on your feminist show. I'm sure Joss or whomever wasn't doing this on purpose. They probably just discovered the title of an actual witch hunter's manual and thought it would be cute to include. That's not an excuse though, just a sign of apathy in our culture. We do things without thinking and it's bad.